guys ready?
Yeah, no, I know. I know what you mean.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 2nd
Sense of humor.
meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note, as always, of all the exits around the room in case of a mishap. And now join me as we salute the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a new public hearing for Hyde Park Town Center North. As a reminder, the applicants are seeking site plan approval as well as special use permit because they're doing a slight bit of expansion. These are for buildings 3, 4, and 5 as they're labeled. But for individuals who live in our community, this would be 2 buildings to the left of the old Grand Union and the building up front where Verizon and Sideburns Barber are located. They're proposing to reclad these buildings as well as add some more amenities in the parking area around what would be Building 5 or where Verizon is. Making a motion over the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome back, Ms. Leibold and Mr. Alexander. I'll turn the floor over to you.
It should be on. Oh. I don't know. It's usually on.
There you go.
There we go. Jing.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a real quick presentation because I know we've been before you for several months reviewing this particular application, but for the public, if there's anyone here, we were before you previously for site plan approval for the Mavis building, which is under construction, and this application has to do with the 3 of the 4 remaining buildings. So it would be the 2 buildings that are closest to Pine Woods Road. One is currently Feeds Plus and the other one is empty. And the 3rd building is the building that's on Route 9, which used to house, or actually still house, the barbershop and Verizon. The applicant is proposing to reclad those buildings, as the chairman had indicated, and associated modifications to the parking spaces and the access. So this is the proposed elevations for this would be emergency 1, and this is the building that's on Route 9 that houses Verizon and the barbershop. This is the building that's adjacent to what I would call the former Grand Union building. And this is the proposed architecture for the building that's adjacent to Pine Woods Road that used to be, for those who live here, the Hudson Valley Credit Union. It's a long time ago.
Dr. Exelbert started there, too.
Oh, okay. So that's the application. We're happy to hear or answer any questions anyone has.
And before I go to the consultants, I do need to make note again for the record that the applicants have been working with the planning board routinely on the architecture. We seem to have come to a point where now both sides are satisfied with what's been proposed. The use of stone fascia on all 3 buildings creates a sort of symmetry of what's going back there, ties together some design elements, and yet all the buildings have their own unique character at the same time. So let me start with the consultants. Ms. Axelson, any comments?
Just quickly, our last comments were April 5th, and we'll look at a new submittal when we have it, and otherwise Victoria and I collaborated to pull together part 2.
Yes, we're prepared to
For
do a
secret
secret
review.
determination tonight. Also, the applicants are before the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance, so before you could get that, we need to conclude secret tonight, so.
And Mr. Chairman, I should have
Yes.
noted that we do have the consultants' comments, thank you, Liz, from the last meeting, and I did take copious notes from the last meeting on the planning board's requested changes. We did not make substantial changes to the plan that you have before you.
Correct.
Because they were, I don't mean to sound that they weren't important, but they weren't needed for the seeker review. So our
Not at all.
anticipation was if there's any comments from the public,
Then you can
we would
still-
make one
correct.
final submission to you.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Mr. Zotero? Ms. Polidoro?
No comment.
Mr.
No
Pick-
comments.
We're admonished often that we're not speaking into the microphone enough, particularly Ms. Polidoro. So, Mr. Pickett, comments?
Really no comments, just glad to see it moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Dexter?
I would concur with that. Thank you.
Mr. Oliver?
I also concur.
Ms. Napoli? Yay!
I have to make a comment. When you come before us the next time, will you be bringing in samples?
Yes.
That's my question. Thank you.
Oh, good point.
Thank you, and that is a great point. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak about this application? Come on up and just state your name. Ms. Leibelt will move. Just state your name for the record. Thank you, and make sure you speak into the microphone because you've been
I watched
admonished
the last
often.
video.
Uh-oh, see, now you know why. Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Shad, and I'm here on behalf of TEG Federal Credit Union. We're here basically on behalf of our members. We think that what you guys are doing is excellent, and we've looked at the plans, and everyone's on board and thinks it's great. The only concern that they have is when we look at the plans, we're just wondering if right now there's a fence between the parking lot and our parking lot, and our members and also our board members are also concerned, is there going to be a curb put right there where the members are not going to be able to get out to get to Route 9 to turn right? Because right now, the way that it is, if our members leave our parking lot, they're going in a horseshoe and they can only turn, to the left is what I meant, to the left. They can only turn to the right. And a lot of them can't turn to the left, so they're wondering if there's going to be any curb put there, or if there's going to be if it's going to stay open. We understand where our parking is, our members understand where our parking is, but they want to know if they're going to be able to get out that back way to get to Pine Woods Road to get up to Route 9 so they can turn left in a safer fashion.
Because there are no cross-access agreements, I think I might let Mr. Alexander field that.
Okay, I wasn't sure. You want to go first, Kelly, and then I'll...
I can address it. The concerns that she had raised has to do with, this is the property line that's on the plan. This is
Right.
TEG Credit Union,
Right.
and the property is configured. TEG Credit Union owns a parcel that allows a right in and a right out.
There and there.
Correct. So here's the right in, and here's the right out. At the moment, there's a construction barrier there for obvious reasons, for safety and so forth. At the moment, there is no plans to put up a barrier at that entrance.
I was going to answer you to say that I know that there are no plans on the site plan to put up a curb, which means that there would be open access. Again, the planning board would not be approving your members using it because there are no cross-access agreements. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak about this application? There being no other, and I have no comments as well. For those in the audience, I need to explain that we've actually been working with them for a couple of months, and we actually worked with their architect directly, both in some offline meetings as well as up here. So most of the board's questions have been answered a while back. And Ms. Leibold alluded to the fact that at our last meeting, the board had comments, many of them. She took notes. Those will be reflected in some changes through the next iteration. We will keep the public hearing open because we need to keep it open in order to receive new information from the applicant. But in essence, they were all relatively small in terms of, there's no impact on seeker. Some of it was burying a line, et cetera. So I have the resolutions for adopting the seeker determinant of non-significance. Let me first as quickly as I can, go through part 2 of the EAF. Impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. No. Impact on geological features. There are none. Impacts on surface water. There are none. Impacts on groundwater. There are none. Impact on flooding. There are none. Impacts on air. There are none. Impacts on plant and animals. There are none. It's an already developed site. Impact on agricultural resources. There are none. 9, impact on aesthetic resources. There are none, but one could certainly argue that there's an improvement to aesthetic resources given what's being the considerable upgrade that's going to the buildings. 10, impact on historic or archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to an historic or archaeological resource. The answer there is yes, but they're all minor or no or small impacts may occur. The reason why is because, as we know, there is a state and federal landmarked building on a parcel that is adjacent. That would be the Staatsburg building, home of the office of Senator Sue Serino at the moment. However, there are intervening buildings. This is an upgrade, and we already had comments from SHPO during Mavis that there will be no impacts on this scenic and historic resource. 11, impact on open space and recreation. There are none. Impact on critical environmental areas. There are no impacts. There is no CEA anywhere near this. Impact on transportation. None. There are many recladding buildings that already have existing uses. 14, impact on energy. There are no impacts. Impact on noise, odor, or light. The answer is yes. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. However, those are all small impacts, and it's because of temporary noise related to construction. The mitigation is that it's temporary. 16, impact on human health. There is none. 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. The answer is yes, but only because a small impact is because you're needing a variance in the first place because of the size of the building. And again, the size of the building is dictated because our code requires you to do a non-flat roof. 18, consistency with community character. There are no impacts because it is consistent with the community character. As I said, these are improvements. We have a part 2 that highlights the determination behind this. Is there an agreement with the number of impacts listed?
Yes.
Thank you by signifying yes. Resolution 16-15F, resolution adopting a secret determination of non-significance, May 2nd, 2018. Whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that for the reasons set forth in parts 1, 2, and 3 of the EAF and the attached notice of determination of significance, the planning board hereby adopts a negative declaration finding that the project as proposed will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Be it further resolved, the planning board hereby directs the secretary of the planning board just in the attached notice of determination to the significance to the environmental notice bulletin for publication and to make all the required filings.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we considered to adjourn this to June 6th. That would give you time to go through the ZBA. We've already issued our positive recommendation for the variance. And I'm hoping that when you come back, but that after the ZBA, we'll have a new set of plans we can go through, and I think that we'd be able to consider approval that night. Be great for the community as well to see all those buildings, the next step forward in that phase. So making a motion to adjourn this to June
moved.
6th?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. By the way, I see some young people in the audience, back in the back, over in the right corner. Young people in the audience, if you can hear me. See? The next item on the agenda is a new public hearing for Hyde Park condominiums. The applicants are seeking approval of a site plan, previously approved site plan, an amendment to it that would allow them to construct a different kind of wastewater treatment facility. Making a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything you want to add?
Nothing at all.
First, let me compliment you for taking the requests of the planning board and incorporating them in the plan changes so quickly. We appreciate that. And let me go to our consultants. Ms. Axelson, Mr. Sotero, any comments?
No, anything we had was incorporated in the resolution. Just talked about adding one more tree, and then also that they're going to need a erosion and sediment control permit from
And
TAD.
those-
So
those have
and the
been made
lighting
conditions?
and the lighting, seemed like it was okay, like appropriate for the facility. So yeah, so anything we had was already incorporated in
Thank
the
you.
resolution. So.
If we were referring to the landscaping, you did a good job of staggering the evergreens. However, the way it's proposed, the layout, if you're traveling north on 9 at that point, and that is actually a designated scenic highway by the state, you would, during leaf-off seasons, be able to see the building to the right, so we're just adding for one more. The way the resolution's been worded, it's to the satisfaction, the location of the zoning administrator. She can tell you. It's pretty easy. If you had the map up tonight, I was going to show you. Also, one of the conditions is the table for the landscaping shows 9 trees. You added a 10th.
10th,
And
yes.
since we're asking for an 11th, it needs to be changed from 9 to 11.
Yes.
Sorry. So, comments from Ms. Polidoro?
We heard back from county planning. They had no concerns.
No comments whatsoever. Thank you. Mr. Napoli, any additional comments?
Not at this time, no.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver?
Thank you for making the changes that we asked for, and hopefully it'll help out the condos up there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the input.
Ms. Dexter?
Yeah, I would just say that I know the residents up there are going to be happy to have the new facility up and running.
Absolutely.
So hopefully it goes swiftly.
Thank you. Mr. Pickett?
Ditto.
I have no additional comments. Would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, making a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yep. That's
Read it. Resolution granting site plan approval, Hyde Park condominium, WWTF, AKA the Ledges. May 2nd, 2018, Resolution 2018-16, whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the site plan and authorizes the chairperson or his authorized designee to sign the site plan after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees and escrows. 2, revision of the site plan to include the following note. Landscaping as depicted on this site plan shall be maintained at all times or replaced if in kind, if dead or deceased. 3, issuance of a Town of Hyde Park erosion and sediment control permit. 4, revision of the site plan to correct the limits of disturbance to include the landscaped areas. 5, revision of the site plan to include the addition of a blue spruce in the southwest corner of the project site outside of the currently depicted area of disturbance as acceptable to the zoning administrator. 6, revision of the site plan's landscape table to indicate that 11 trees are being planted. 7, approval by the Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Would you like my copy of the resolution, the unofficial? Yeah, go ahead. You can take it home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I see?
Disease, not deceased.
Okay.
I caught it. I caught it. It's deceased. If it's dead or diseased, if it's dead, it is deceased. Yeah.
Well,
That's
I
okay.
wasn't sure if we wrote dead or deceased, and I was thinking, what's the difference?
And there would be none. Thank you very much.
I have a dead pine tree in the yard. I have to remove it.
The next item on the agenda is a new public hearing for Bellefield Hotel Subdivision. As a reminder for the audience, this application involves a 339-acre parcel located just west of the Culinary Institute between St. Andrews and, my brain went to that, where you grew up?
Oh, West Dorsey.
West Dorsey. Momentary, I'm sure it's a little pen attacks, whatever they are on the head. And in essence, now they've come before us to create parcels, one for the hotel, one for the wastewater treatment facility. The remaining parcel is one that's going to encompass the rest of the site. The applicants presented new plans since we last met in workshop. And in this instance, well, I also wanted to add a little bit of a discussion about the open development area, because the applicants have now made that request formally to the town board. And just so that, I want to make sure that the board is aware of what our role is in that, because they'll be referring that back out to us. So first, making a motion, did I already?
So moved.
Making a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Over to you guys.
Good evening. Jennifer Van Tile from Cuddy and Fader, and with me tonight is Chris Laporta, newly minted PE from the Chase and Company.
Congratulations, Chris.
Congratulations. And plus,
Larry-
I think a 40 under 40?
Yep, and a
That's
40 under
right,
40 by
that's
the
right,
Greater Regional
that's right.
Dutchess Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Congratulations on both.
Thank you very much.
And Ms. Van Tile, because it's so hot outside, and we're so familiar with this, and I don't see any member of the public that may want to speak, I asked Mr. Laporta not to put everything up, but if you want it, we can.
No, I think that's fine, and I think you did a great summary at the beginning. I wanted everyone to be clear, watching on TV, that this is not in any way a major development of the remainder of the site. There's the hotel site that the board is fully familiar with, and the site will be served by a wastewater treatment plant. So those are the two parcels, and we're really here tonight just to draw the lines around them. If you remember, all the seeker issues about the entire project were evaluated in the initial review that was extensive, and we requested to separate out this subdivision application, though not the environmental evaluation of it, simply because there was a little bit of a technical issue with the Department of Health and some issues that they needed to work through, and those have all been worked through at this point. So
And in addition, you needed to work through DOT because the easement should be recorded on the parent lot, I'll call it, for lack of a
Yes.
better term.
Yes.
And that has been worked through now, but that was an extensive process of working with the Department of Transportation.
Indeed.
I'm summarizing it
Indeed, and the
nicely.
saga continues. So I think there's no new issues that we're bringing before the board at this point. I think this project has been under consideration in the town since the early 2000s, and it has always been an essential part of the project that it would be served by a private road system. That was inherent in the approvals
In the concept.
from that time. And in order to have a private road system, there has to be established an open development area on the site. We have filed a limited application for that makes it very clear that the ODA, as it's called, Open Development Area, applies only to the extent of the development that's approved on the site. And if there's to be any future application to continue the private roads, that would have to go back to the town board as well. Now, interestingly, the law doesn't technically provide for the planning board to make an initial report to the town board of what it requests. The law requires that the matter go first to the town board and be referred back to your planning board. The matter is on the town board's agenda for this coming Monday, and we expect that the referral would be made. So I would expect that at the board's next meeting, that would be discussed. I think we also need to schedule technical meetings with the engineer's office to discuss. The planning board has a great deal of authority under the existing approvals for the layout of the roads and applying the appropriate town road standards to them. And Chazen is doing its geotech, which they expect to have back at the end of this week, that would determine the necessary thickness of the pavement in accordance with the soils that are there. So I think we should start doing that. And also, on an open development area, building permits can be issued for private roads, for buildings that don't have frontage directly on a town road. But nonetheless, in those circumstances, the building inspector also has to be assured that there's appropriate and safe access for fire trucks, et cetera. So I think it would be appropriate for us to schedule a technical meeting on that, and then we can discuss it at the board. So I think those are really all the issues.
Ms. Moss, our zoning administrator, did send me, I'm just going to read it, an email, or rather send it to all of us, but I don't know if all development must be in the ODA. There are significant intersection improvements and water sewer lines that pass through the larger parcel, although it's not being subdivided. Please establish standards for access to be developed to a certain point before a building permit can be issued. For example, the DOT entrance to the wastewater treatment facility parcel must be constructed per the DOT permit, and the access from the entrance to the plant must be developed to the wearing course before site construction begins and/or any required building permit can be issued. Safe access must be established to the construction sites at the onset of development, which of course makes sense. And that's what this technical meeting would allow us to sort of define and work through. I do believe that in my conversations with DOT, they are not requiring as extensive a development for the access to the wastewater treatment facility.
Yes, that's correct. That's going to be a temporary access that they're going to issue, and they are, Chris, I'll defer to you, but I understand that the DOT accepts the fact that that's a lower level entrance, and if you notice on the plans, and of course the board knows the plans very well, the northern access only goes to the wastewater treatment plant.
That's it,
The
right.
thing that looks like a road when you look at
It's
the
not a
map,
road.
it's
It's an
just an
easement.
easement,
Oh, we
it's a
know.
utility.
In addition, that's why when we approved the hotel, we said, I believe we reserved the right to go back and look at that intersection because the northern intersection, because it may, once it's designed for actual people who live there, people who shop there, et cetera, and the way it was approved in the concept plan, there was an island, which is not shown in this because it's just really it's an entrance for workers to help clean, construct it and then clean it periodically, whatever maintenance it needs, that's it. So we don't want, we agreed at the time, we don't want people who are not professionals who belong there going there in the first place, so we don't want to signal it with a big, great, beautiful entrance. So I just wanted to make sure the board was aware what DOT would be, in my conversation with what they generously offered you. At any rate, Comments from the consultants, Ms. Axelson?
Just quickly, Pete and I were just talking about, the business of coordinating the subdivision site plans, that a technical meeting would make sense so that we're not adding a whole bunch of information to the subdivision plans unnecessarily, so.
Thank you. Anything else,
No, we
Mrs.
don't, no,
Darrow?
we don't have any comments.
Ms. Polidoro?
No comments.
Mr. Pickett, any comments?
No comment.
Ms. Dexter?
No comments.
Mr. Oliver?
Are you sure?
No comment.
Ms. DiNapoli?
Do you want a second run at it, Ms. Dexter?
Honestly, say something. Somebody has to have some sort of comment.
I'm glad you're before us again, and we're speeding this along as fast as we can.
So, would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, when would you like to adjourn this? I'm not familiar with, once the town, so under the Bellefield PDD requirements or PUD requirements, once they refer to the planning board, we have 60 days in which to respond. The reason why that lengthy time is given is because we only meet twice a month. In other words, we may not have time to actually vote once we have a response or whatever it is. So I don't know what the law is in terms of their date. We would try to get it back, obviously, before 60 days. This isn't complicated to me. But do you know, Victoria, once the town refers it, is there a deadline that's set?
There's no deadline in the town law for the response on
That's what
the
I didn't
open
s- that's what I
development area,
thought.
if that's what you mean. So you're under no deadline, and I think the most important thing is for us to have the technical discussion about it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be key. Naturally, Bellefield wants to move forward, but I think it's important that we make the progress on the technical basis for that. So I think it might even be better to go on for the first meeting in June, to allow that meeting to take place.
For-
But if there's a possibility, I don't know how busy your agenda is for your next meeting, but
I'm just wondering, do we need to we need to continue the public hearing for that? Could this be something that we could workshop?
Right. 'cause
I'm trying to-
yeah,
Right.
The
that
public
could be
hearing,
workshop.
you have to go and get the
To a
ODA
specific
approval
date,
before
yes.
you can.
In
before
other
the
words,
board
I don't
can
see any
adopt.
value in continuing this as a public hearing right now.
Yes,
I'd rather
June 4th.
push that into July, I
future
think,
bit.
because the town board will have to take its actions. I'm assuming if they're on the next agenda for May the 9th, maybe, May 8th, next Monday, that then they'll refer it to us. We'll put that on our workshop for our next meeting, for our June meeting, yes?
June 2nd, well,
June 6th.
June 6th.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, what am I talking about? I'm
So
putting
we
it
can
Monday.
put that on for workshop discussion for the
Okay.
ODA and then get into it a little bit more teeth. But if we can get the technical meeting before that, that would help.
So June 6th, and then we'd refer it back to the town board, who would meet after that in June?
Yep.
So you could do it the second.
Second meeting in June.
Second meeting in June or the first in July, but.
There is no
4th
first
of
meeting in
is
July.
canceled.
So we canceled it because the day was July 4th. So would you like to just adjourn this to the second meeting of June?
yes, yes.
At the 20th?
That would be June 20th, yes. Making a motion to continue this to
So
June 20th?
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And this is a different application, but while I have everybody here, we're trying to set up a meeting for next Thursday at 11, next Tuesday at
Tuesday.
11, to go through an offline meeting for the locusts, since Ms. Vantal is here. We've all, Ann and Diane have been sort of working with me on this for offline, can do it. Tad can do it, but I don't believe that any of you guys have responded yet,
Who needs
so
to be there, Liz or me, or I think that,
one of
both
you,
of us.
one of you.
When?
This is the.
No, she's talking about the
It's the
8th.
8th
Oh,
Tuesday.
at 11?
I think I'm free.
Okay. Just when you get back to your email, just find that, or you can go back online.
I think I might have.
Well, I'll put it down,
Thank you.
I'm free,
Okay.
and then one of us will be here.
Thank you very much.
So that's for locusts, right?
Yep. They're
That's
relevant.
for the locust?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'd like to meet before we have the public hearing.
and now we're
Or continue,
flip-flopping.
have the public hearing continue.
Continue.
Can I just
We
clarify
talk about anything
on this
here.
application, public hearing June 20th, but are we workshopping before that?
Yes,
Okay.
because the
On the
town board,
6th.
on the 6th, the town board will be referring the ODA request back to us. And to the
When are
audience,
we-
we apologize.
when are
The
we
town has
meeting?
never had an open development area proposed to us before.
and it's going to be before the town board at the next
Why do I
meeting?
have that?
Yes, Monday's
Maybe.
meeting on the
Maybe.
7th.
Yep.
And we've made it very clear that it's a limited, the ODA approval is limited to the development that's being proposed
Yeah,
right now.
you did a lot of research and
Yes.
sent a memo to the board, all the board has
Yes.
seen it, where you went through case law that generally supports there being a more restricted open development area.
Right. There was concern that if, even though it has always been the intention that all the roads in the project would be private, there was a concern about granting a blanket open development area for 301 remaining acres that there aren't specific plans for. So this is the conservative and prudent way to go.
And I'll add too, that it was always envisioned when Ann and I were part of the original review, that the private roads would be developed to town road standards.
Yes.
That was always
Right.
implicit in
Yes,
this
I mean,
too.
and that is what's being proposed here also, but there are a number of town road standards, so it's finding the appropriate one, plus the issue of the thickness of the pavement based upon the geotech work that's been
Yeah.
done.
Right.
And width and, there's.
We'll figure it
there's a-
out.
There's a lot of design concerns, but I think we can address them at a technical meeting, and it's not complicated because there's really such a small amount of development proposed now. It's pretty straightforward.
Sorry, it's very straightforward to me.
Yeah.
There's not that much road. So,
Right.
I mean, it leads to the hotel, and then we have an emergency access that leads to West Dorsey, and then we have something that goes just to a wastewater treatment facility.
Just like a series of driveways.
Yeah, that's really.
Right, exactly.
That's what it's analogous to,
Exactly.
so, then.
But we are setting the standard for the
whole thing.
project,
Right.
For the whole
so it's important.
It's just like I said at the last meeting, even though it's taking a while with the hotel, with all the agency approvals you're going through, DOT, DOH, it's setting a template that can then be followed far more easily for whatever the next phases are. I don't think will take this long, thank heavens, cross fingers. So we will see you at the next meeting for workshop, assuming the town board does refer it to us. And I can't be here on Monday, but I would encourage any planning board member who can make it to the town board meeting to go. I'll be out of town. If I were here, believe me, I would be in the audience, just to hear what's going
Yeah.
on. So, sorry I can't make it.
And we would appreciate it if we could set that technical meeting, and maybe we can do it by emails.
Absolutely,
To be
let's-
well in advance of the June 6th meeting.
I'm the
sometime in the
person
next
who
week.
has the paper calendar, so I need to
Okay.
go home.
I totally
Take a
understand. I
look.
like analog.
So, me too. So tomorrow, I'll send out some dates for us, all right?
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. And Mr. Porter, again, congratulations. Sorry we drug you out, and I wouldn't let you do your song and dance, but I didn't think it was necessary tonight.
Everyone in the audience appreciates it.
And by the way, guys, the young people over there in the corner, if you can hear me, are you from FDR? Arlington, so you have to have some sort of fulfillment of courses. Do you need for me to sign sheets when you're done? If you have any questions or anything else, just come up and ask me after the meeting's over. Okay? Sure. The next item on the agenda is Empire Auto Solutions. The applicants are making a request for an exterior modification to the site plan that was previously approved. Basically, they're paving it, adding some trees, and that's about it. It's a new business for Hyde Park. It's both a livery as well as a used automobile sales location. Making a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The owner is here.
Hi
Is
there.
there anything you want to add for us?
I thought I was going to sit back there for another 2 more hours. I'm shocked to be up here so early.
You never know.
Well, you can go back again. We'll call you, we'll call you up,
Go the
later.
back of the line.
So I took some heat from a lot of people for setting so many public hearings this time, but the reason why was because I didn't anticipate on all these applications, we have gone back and forth so much with the consultants and the owners that we're ready to take action on a lot of them. And once when we're taking action, you see how fast it goes.
Yes.
Because we're through all that long process. So
Very nice.
no 2 hours needed tonight.
Great.
And there'll be good news for somebody else over there tonight, too. So would you like to add anything?
No, I gave you 2 dogwoods.
You did.
All
Yes.
right.
Nice, very
Where,
nice.
where did you find to put them?
Right behind the
they're-
stone wall.
they're
There's
gonna
Without
be-
dynamite.
They're going to be just symmetrically placed in front of the wall. I got a there's a sign there now. There's a big blue sign for, the people that pick up the litter. That's right in the middle of the parking lot.
What?
It couldn't be
Oh, you mean
placed.
Oh, you mean
sponsored
the-
by?
Yeah. Does that have to stay there?
Well,
That's a deal.
that's a DOT.
It is?
Yeah, it's in
And
the
they placed
DOT.
it there
You can check
intentionally
with
at
them.
that spot?
They do.
It's
because
almost at the worst possible spot.
I'm not disagreeing with you. And is that the one that it's the Boy Scout troop that's responsible?
Yes.
Or
Is it the boy? Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, they all
It's
run
just-
together.
Considering that Ms. Whitman and I spent 4.5 hours picking up litter along 9 in an area supposedly sponsored by the Boy Scout troops. Anybody want to hear that on television? Along with 13 other volunteers. We did a townwide cleanup over the
Okay.
weekend, so we were not joined by the Boy Scouts, but you can bring that up with DOT. They're the
DOT?
ones who place them. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's actually a permit that they have to fill out, the Boy Scouts have to fill out, et cetera, in order to get that. And it's been up there a long time.
Oh, very long time.
From what I can recall.
And they're taking the word boy out of Boy Scouts, I heard today.
Right.
So-
Oh, they
Come
are?
on,
Yeah.
really?
Yep.
It's just Scouts BSA.
Scouts.
So,
Okay.
But the parent one will still be BSA.
Wow, as a former scout myself, I'm shocked. But
Because
hey,
women are coming in.
fine, great. All for it. All for it. Comments, Ms. Axel, Mr. Sotero?
Should be one.
Anything we had was already incorporated. Just wanted to define the small stormwater area that Joe had put a little bit better, and also to put a tip-up curb when they do the asphalt, just to make sure that the drainage gets directed to the infiltration area. But that's all incorporated, so.
And I was going to say, those are incorporated as
Yeah.
conditions.
So we're good.
Ms. Polidoro, any other comments? My, excellent use of the microphone tonight.
No further comments.
Ms. DiNapoli?
Thank you for the 2 dogwoods.
Yes.
oh, yes, anytime. Very excited about them.
Don't get too excited, we may ask for more.
Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Oliver?
Again, thanks for the dogwoods, and thank you for making the improvements in the property in our town and keeping your business here, so thanks.
Great.
Ms. Dexter?
I live on West Dorsey, that's my old address. I live there on South Cross Road, so it's really exciting to me to have all these businesses down at the bottom,
It's changing
all looking
quickly.
really great.
Yes, beautiful.
So welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Pickett, any comments?
No comment. Glad to see you going in.
Thank you very much.
I will echo, we're delighted that you're bringing your business to Hyde Park. I can't tell you that enough times.
Actually, I do have a question.
Oops. No, sorry.
It's coming to me. Last time, we talked about you either merging the lots or doing a cross-access easement, and we didn't get an answer on
I
that.
think right now I'm going to leave it as it is,
Okay.
if that's legal.
It's legal, sure. So we'll just add a condition then that's going to require you to
Put an
put
easement,
an
right?
easement on the property.
Okay. So, okay, so that has to be incorporated into the site plan? Or is that another?
It would be just, it's a condition. An easement is a legal document. Ms. Polidoro can send you draft language we have for cross-access easements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So an attorney from your side would prepare it, and basically, you're giving an easement. So what happens
To
is,
yourself.
if you sold one of the parcels, which you could do because they're already parcels,
Right.
you could sell it, and then that person, whoever bought it, if they didn't do due diligence, which believe me, happens more often than you
Oh,
think,
yeah.
could find out that they couldn't cross to enter the property itself. So to avoid litigation in the future, where we can, we try to create cross-access agreements. Like, for example, with the credit union, there's been I'm going to guess that there's been so much of a sort of informal access, the way they've been
Handshake.
doing it, they probably could go to court and then get an easement just through adverse possession, but that's for a judge to decide, never for us. And we can't compel the applicants there to grant the easement because there's no benefit to them. Would be just to the others who want that other way out.
Sure.
In this case, we routinely require, you'll see what we'd be requiring it also with the next applicant, or if you leave, but it's the same owner, we can control both, so that way there's protection for the lots themselves.
Is there a
that we
current
pass on.
easement?
No.
There is none.
There's no
There's
current
not,
easement.
there's not
Right.
currently an easement. I mean, I guess the issue here would be if you sold one lot, is there adequate room to put in another curb cut with adequate site distance, et cetera? And
Yeah.
so that's part of the reason.
There's a beautiful rock wall, so,
And it would go.
Right.
You're not going to sell it, but again,
Right.
If
knock
it's
on
all
wood,
legal stuff,
someplace,
yeah.
yes, if, let's say you're hit by a car and whoever your heirs and assigns are say, sell it, and then they sell one lot.
yeah.
So we just try to clean this up now.
Sure.
Believe me, we inherited so many problems.
We're
from
trying to
things that
avoid
weren't.
what you heard earlier
Yeah.
from TEG.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so.
Do you want this incorporated into this site plan approval?
So what would you like, how would you like
So
the
it's
words
just
to
a
be?
condition that says approval by planning board attorney of a cross-access
Easement
easement.
agreement.
Approval of,
approval by the planning board attorney
Oh.
of a cross-access agreement for the two lots, the two subject lots. And then proof of recordation shall be provided before a CO is issued.
And Mr. Hoffman, that means that it must be recorded with the county clerk before you can get a CO.
So I'll look at the draft.
Do we have a CO? I mean, is he getting a CO for anything?
That's a good question. That's a Tad question. Well,
No.
You're not
if you-
doing, you're not,
There
you're
is
not
no
you're not
CO.
doing any building improvements, are you?
There's no CO for paving a lot.
There's no CO. Well, then we'll just leave it as approval and give a scout's honor that you're gonna record it.
There will be, yes. Scouts on it.
Okay.
Just straight up.
Not Boy Scouts, just
Straight
Scouts
Straight up
on it.
Scouts.
Just scouts.
No boys,
Thank
no
you.
Gender
girls.
neutral scout's honor.
Would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, making a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you all very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
What a letdown.
We have to read the resolution first, if you want to hear it.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
You want to read mine?
Yeah. Resolution granting site plan approval, Empire Auto Solutions, Resolution 2018-17A, whereas. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the site plan and authorizes the chairperson or his authorized designee to sign the site plan after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees and escrows. 2, revision of the site plan to specify the depth of the 3-inch stone fill to be 12 to 18 inches below the 1-foot depression. 3, revision of the site plan to specify a tip-up curb at the edge of the paved area to ensure the runoff is directed to the stone depression. 4, revision of the site plan to include the following note: landscaping as depicted on the site plan shall be maintained at all times. 5, approval by the planning board attorney of the
Cross-access.
cross-access agreement
Two subject lots.
for the subject lots.
Two subject lots.
2 subject lots
That's
for
my
the
little 2 there, yes, sorry.
I'll make that 2 bigger.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So when do you expect to open up fully?
Once they get the paving underway. So it's a race to get the asphalt down.
And since I have you here and we're on television, how would one go about hiring a livery service? Just call Empire or
Yes.
go online?
And I'm sad to say that we are so busy all the time. It's like I don't really market too much because we're just overwhelmed all the time.
Once
I told
they
you-
find you, they keep going
Yeah,
back.
We,
Once I had never heard of your business before, once you told me about it.
Yeah.
They're
I see
everywhere.
them everywhere now, all over the county.
yes.
So-
Airports,
What's that?
back and forth to airports and.
Yeah, it's more medical appointments.
I was to say, I
really.
think it's more
Oh,
medical
alright.
appointments.
It's primarily medical appointments, bringing people to and from it.
To doctor's offices as well as the hospital. That's what I thought. So
Wow.
it's a good business, and we're happy to have it here.
Thank
And
you.
you're obviously filling a great, I did not drink before I came. You are filling a great need then.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
And Mr. Berger already knows about these conditions, I believe.
Yes.
Because he's talked to him,
Yeah.
so you shouldn't have any issues, but if you do, just contact our office. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
Have a nice
Thank
night.
you.
Cheers all.
Here.
Oh, I need to sign? I did.
Good.
The next item on the agenda is DIPALMA. Mr. DIPALMA is seeking site plan approval for a chicken coop.
Nice.
Because animal husbandry requires site plan approval, it is allowed in all districts. Ms. Moss wanted to make sure that we had the public hearing, so may I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A note, Mr. DiPalma meets all the setbacks that are required for animal husbandry. We've had instances up here before of rabbits and hens, et cetera, where they were so close to the neighbors that the neighbors raised objections and they couldn't get a variance, et cetera, so they both had to go by the wayside, but you've had no such problem. So I know there are no comments from the consultants because we didn't get escrow from
Well,
them.
materials and colors for the coop, I mean, no?
It's not visible from Pine Woods. It's not visible. Actually, we've already
Thought
seen
I'd
it.
ask.
He submitted the materials and the colors
They're
because
very
it's prefab.
nice, yes.
It's prefab. Any comments from the board?
No?
Any comments from the public about this application? There being none, make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who has this fun resolution?
I do.
Yay!
Town of Hyde Park Planning Board resolution to grant site plan approval for DIPALMA Chicken Coop. Resolution number 2018-20A, whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby waives all elements of site plan approval not shown in the submittal and grants site plan approval to the project as shown in the application and authorizes the chair or his designee to sign the site plan after compliance with the following conditions. Payment of all fees and escrow, revision of the site plan to include a planning board signature block on the back of the aerial photo.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. You know what to do with the signature block, right, on the back?
Yes, I see
Ah.
Cynthia.
Yes. Ms.
See,
Moss
Cynthia.
and Ms. Whitman sort of collaborated on what we can do so I can sign it, and
It's actually in there,
it is?
yeah, so we can have them sign them right now.
So just for everyone,
Ah.
when
Just his signature.
when we have applications like this, we don't want to necessarily make them go through, the full site plan would be show trees that are above a certain
Yes,
circumference, show
yes.
sidewalks, et cetera. This is a residential use, but it requires site plan. The reason Ms. Moss wants to hold them is in case some neighbor that you don't know can come out and say, don't do that, for whatever reasons. In this case, we don't want the applicant to go through a lot of costs to develop a full
Right.
site plan. So if you look, the aerial photo that shows the location, et cetera, has been acceptable to Ms. Moss. We have a record, so I'll just be signing that. So,
Oh, okay.
making it simple.
Not your signature, just,
His signature.
yeah.
Where's mine? There's, the block
It's
has
there.
both.
But not yet, because we
Oh.
have to go through escrow. Or did we finish escrow? We didn't have any escrow.
I don't, no escrow.
There was no escrow, so there are no more fees or expenses. It should be ready to go.
It should be ready to go, right?
You just need a cupola.
So it's right, this
Once
is,
they pass it over to us, we'll get you.
Yeah. Pass this down. If you look on the back.
yeah. Oh, there you go. It's
So
right here.
there are no fees or expenses. You already paid it because there's no escrows, so I could sign.
There's three of them.
Yes.
Five,
Here, let me just pass these down.
Okay.
5 different
We're
colors.
going to pass these down. If you want me to sign tonight, you can have
Watch
Mr.
the,
DiPalma sign. Thank you, sorry.
Yep.
Right now, it's his signature, I need.
Oh, yeah?
The next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for Associates Golf Car. The applicants are seeking site plan approval to bring a new business into Hyde Park or expand an existing business into Hyde Park. Excuse me. Make it a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So to summarize, we worked back and forth with the applicants as well on architecture, landscaping, sidewalk, et cetera. In each topic, I believe we've reached a comity where we've agreed. The applicants have provided a lot more detail and embellishment to the original proposed building. We received comments back from county planning. Mr. Day, on a dime, turned in new plans with the responses to county planning. Excellent job, if I do say so myself.
Actually, it was Anita in my office, wasn't me.
Then your collaborative approach worked, I'll put it that way, but it was really, really quick. And the comments that Ms. Lavoie made of DC Planning concerning the location of the trees, we looked at them, they're 20 feet apart already. They seem fine for the species you proposed. And she commented on the hybridization of the architecture, but I believe the board is satisfied with what appears before us now.
Yep, yep.
One more cough. Excuse me.
Pretty strong there, water, huh, Michael?
Any
What
additional?
else is in there?
Fire
Anything
water.
else in there?
Any additional comments from the consultants? Any three of you?
No,
I
we're
mean,
good
the
to
review
go.
memo we got back from Ms. Axelson only had 3 items in there written as conditions, so.
Not even a full page.
Not even a full, 3!
We're good to go.
So I could tell we were good to go.
I did add a condition because the most recent plan set we received wasn't in color and it didn't list any of the materials or colors, but I see you have them here now. But just for the final submission, make sure that that's submitted to the planning board.
You want that?
No, you can just write all the, you can write the names of everything on the board. We don't have storage for this.
Okay.
I'd love to have all the storyboards, believe me.
Right, but
Town hall is really.
we need to double the size of town hall.
Yeah, for documents retention, so, I don't know, you, as an architect or an engineer, you can already think of how, ways to find crannies. I've thought about it myself. Any additional comments from the board?
Just that I really do like your storyboard, and it really does put everything into context, and it's just going to be gorgeous.
It's going to be nice.
Again, it was Anita.
Would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, make it a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who has this resolution?
I do. Resolution granting site plan approval, Associates Golf Car Service, Inc., resolution number 2018-05B. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the site plan and authorizes the chairperson or his authorized designee to sign the site plan after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees in escrow. 2, revision of the site plan to depict common driveway easement over the northern entry. 3, approval of the planning board attorney of a common driveway easement and maintenance agreement over the northern entry serving both the commercial use in the lot identified as 6163-04-552441. 4, revision of the site plan to include the following note: landscaping as depicted on the site plan shall be maintained at all times or replaced in kind if dead or diseased. 5, revision of the A100 to identify colors and materials consistent with the color renderings provided to the planning board in earlier submissions. 6, DCWWA approval of the hydrant and water valve relocation and backflow prevention device. 7, Dutchess County Department of Health approval. 8, conceptual approval from the New York State Department of Transportation for work within the highway right-of-way.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for all of your
No,
input.
I think this is why planning boards exist, is because there's a back and forth to how to make this something that the community would like, that you can also utilize, function, et cetera. And it was really nice working with you. Again, I want to thank you for your email to me about how that one meeting where we went on, 3.5 hours, and you were amazed at all I did pass that on to all the board here. I passed it on to our elected officials. They all knew, so they were like, "Oh, she's so nice." And I said, "Yes, she is," because we don't get compliments like that all the time.
Yeah,
So
no, I
we
appreciate
That was our
appreciate
first
it.
thank you letter.
Everything, yeah. Thank you very much. Y'all work so hard, so thank
You
you
too.
so much. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing this go up.
Yes.
Have
Yes.
you demoed the building, the existing building yet?
I saw the trees are down.
Trees are
I saw the
down.
trees are
Yeah,
down.
that's the next step.
I know, did you apply for the demo permit though, right?
Yeah.
So it should happen. We look forward to another new,
Yeah.
another new project on 9G. That's great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
The next item on the agenda, we had originally by motion set a public hearing for Salt Point Solar for May 16th, our next meeting. The applicants received additional comments and want to work through them from Morris Associates. They've requested that we move the public hearing to June 6th. So may I get a motion that would reset the public hearing from May 16th to June 6th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last item is a site plan waiver for Holtz-3 Caywood. Applicants are seeking site plan waiver for the addition of a rear deck at 3 Caywood Place. 3 Caywood is close to Route 9,
Yep.
but it is not on Route 9, and you can't see in the backyard from Route 9, 3 Caywood. We have the recommendation from the zoning administrator that we should waive.
That's new.
Who has this resolution?
This is
I do.
Thank you.
Site plan waiver
They already
for
have.
May 2nd, 2018, resolution number 2018-21. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Hyde Park Planning Board hereby waives site plan requirements for the file entitled Holtz regarding the specific request estimated April 27th, 2018, and in the building permit application filed dated April 27th, 2018 by Marion Holtz.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any new business or old? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah, we were going to be here.